Andrew Tenjum is on the right. It's going to be an uphill battle for Hartman, but the most important cards in the mirror, Eldrazi Temple, Thought Not Seer, Reality Smasher. A lot of those in your best draws. Both players play full sets of them.
Yeah, didn't shave any Ayavugans, so you have what you need to win games. You just want to hope to not draw anything that does not line up well in this matchup.
All right, for Tenjum, it's a turn 1 Eldrazi Mimic. He has the Temple. Colin placed on alert. He will play an endless 1/2 on his first turn, getting ready for it to block the Mimic.
I've been a fan of Endless One as a 2/2 against every deck but the Mirror. It's rare that I see that on turn 1 in the Mirror, and I think it's very good.
It's Cavern of Souls for Tenjum. Looks like he'll go for one of his 3 drops. It will be Endless One on 3, and this is kind of what you're talking about. It gets outclassed very quickly. Eldrazi Mimic turns into the 3/3 and hits for 3.
It took less than 30 seconds for Tenjum's board to just completely go over the top of the 2/2.
We go back to Hartman. Can he turn to the Thought Not Seer?
That would be big.
Still playing for Hartman, rather than playing cards like Path to Exile and Eldrazi Displacer, he has these 4 Chalice of the Voids in the main deck, which are going to be poor. He does play 4 copies of Matter Reshaper. We saw that last round as well.
Has 1 copy of Warping Whale. It can take care of Eldrazi Mimic. It's an interesting card.
So he plays Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Now that's interesting here. You can't actually play a turn 2 Thought Not Seer off that because you don't have the colorless mana.
Right. Can't cast a Matter Reshaper either. 4 copies in Colin's deck. So despite having a second land, which is a colored source, can't really do very much.
So if Colin doesn't have a play this turn, and he plays his Urborg, there's a chance he's actually generating mana for Tenjum if Tenjum has a copy of Ayavugan.
Right. So far we've only seen the Temple, but if Tenjum does have an Ayavugan, suddenly it's producing minimum 3 mana.
But what the Urborg does is it saves Colin Hartman 2 life. He casts Dismember on the Endless One. Only paying 2. Andrew playing an Eldrazi Sky Spawner does not have a 3rd land drop. So go back over to Hartman. This is an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Blinkmoth Nexus. 1, 2, 3. 5 mana available here. Favorite card, and it is the Smasher. Reality Smasher will come on in, trucking in for 5 damage. Does Tenjum want to trade his board for it? I don't think so.
Really aptly named Reality Smasher because every time I look at it, I can't believe that it's real.
He smashes. Yeah.
It's just all
Especially
upside.
not off 3 mana. That's the thing. When you're playing that card for 3, that's really good.
It's all upside.
15 life points apiece. For Tenjum, he hits his land a turn late, but hits it nonetheless down to 14. We'll see what his reply is. He may just want to turn this game into a straight race, depending on what card he's looking at.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're looking at Path to Exile. He has a Cavern of Souls that can already produce colored mana for Eldrazi, and the Flooded Strand could tap for black mana with the Urborg in play. So it's probably something white. Maybe not, though.
May have missed that Urborg interaction.
Right.
Looks like it. He'll play a Reality Smasher of his own, but with Eldrazi Mimic, his Smasher smashes harder. 5/5 Mimic, 2/1 Sky Spawner, 5/5 Smasher, 7 damage in, puts Colin down to 8, and he's chump blocking the Endless One away.
That's pretty much the only thing that Endless One did this game, right?
It gained 5 life.
Yeah.
That is the only thing it did. Eldrazi Temple is the play for Hartman. He's behind, but these games can be over in a hurry. Another Reality Smasher from Hartman. Tenjum at 14.
Doesn't look good to attack with both. Okay,
wow.
He does.
He's going to do it. Okay, Tenjum down to 4. Colin Hartman needs to survive this turn.
He has a Blinkmoth Nexus in back for blocks, so if only the Sky Spawner and the Reality Smasher are connecting, he does stay alive with that.
Activates Blinkmoth Nexus. Will he get to go to blocks? Will Tenjum path? He will. He'll pass to exile the Blinkmoth Nexus. Hartman, no plays, scoops it up. We're on to game 2. Andrew Tenjum is up.
I knew that Tenjum had a Path to Exile hanging out. Just
there you go. That's why we're getting the planes.
Just didn't happen on the turn that I thought it was going to happen.
And so we sometimes see these become grindy affairs with cards like Eldrazi Displacer or Drowner of Hope mattering, but Reality Smasher still seems to be very impactful in this matchup.
Yeah, go figure. I have a weird one to talk about in sideboarding. So we've seen the worst of technology for Tenjum. We've also seen the fact that Colin's deck does not have a lot going for it in the mirror. Oblivion Sower is kind of a huge one, actually. A 6-mana spell that can accelerate your mana. I wonder if we'll see Hartman bring in All Is Dust as an answer to Worship.
Goodness. It's really painful, right? Because that is the only colored permanent in Andrew's 75.
Right. It's literally for Worship, but you can't otherwise beat it.
He actually has no other answers to Worship.
Yeah, you have to Thought Knot it out of their hand or hope that they don't draw it.
He does play 2 Ratchet Bombs in the main.
Okay.
Maybe he doesn't have to play All His Dust, but I get your point where you just don't want to lose to 1 card.
Ratchet Bomb has the utility against Endless One. It's pretty slow against everything else. Maybe you want Bomb. I am kind of playing devil's advocate with the All Is Dust, I will admit, but it's something to think about.
Andrew Tenjum coming off a top 8 last Open, player from Madison, Wisconsin. 9 Open top 8s, including a win. He's part of Team Lotus. Big Taylor Swift fan, mentions that as well. Has some Pro Tour experience. He had also an invitational top 8, was the runner-up in New Jersey a few years ago.
Right. Learned last night that he is not very good at knowing where he's going when he's driving.
Okay.
Requires a bit of direction. But that's fine. I mean, he's not native to Louisville, so I'll forgive it.
That's why we have smartphones, right?
Right.
Right now, a win should be able to put Tenjum into the top 8, or very close to at least.
Yeah, great position from here. Up a game in a matchup where his deck is actually tuned for the mirror. Yeah, so we see some pile shuffling post sideboard. I don't mess around with that. How do you feel about the pile shuffling post sideboard?
Post sideboard, typically no. I'll do it before game 1 to make sure that I actually have all 60 of my cards there. But I don't think the cards generally go anywhere after game 1.
Right. I usually just verify that I have the 15 cards I don't want in my deck in my sideboard and assume I have 60 otherwise.
So sometimes I actually will pile shuffle it because, say someone Path to Exiled my card and I forgot to shuffle it back in, I'll want to know that before I present. I'll let it slide, especially when you're playing a deck that has, I mean, this matchup they could probably play 5 games in the allotted time.
That's true.
In
a 5-game set, I still take the blue-white build.
Hartman will be on the play. We saw Tenjum miss 1 land drop last game, but was able to get out to a fast enough start. I mean, the card Eldrazi Mimic seems to actually be the thing that turned the tide for him. He was able to score extra damage off it.
It's a 0-mana 5/5, which we might be seeing here from Hartman.
Oh, wow. These are the draws we talk about. Turn 1 Eye of Ugin, 2 Eldrazi Mimics. For Tenjum, it is a hollowed fountain.
That's not exactly keeping pace.
All right, here's Pithing Needle for Hartman. Tenjum's got to be thrilled that this wasn't something else.
Anything with power at all.
At all. Tenjum down to 16. Needle is on Eldrazi Displacer. We saw Colin do this last game.
Yep. Stop yourself from getting, quote, comboed out by the Displacer and the Drowner of Hope. Also, Displacer just has good utility, removes blockers.
Eye of Ugin makes Eldrazi Sky Spawner for Tenjum. So we go back to Colin Hartman.
Tenjum's really hoping that he can block a Mimic profitably with this Scion.
Well, how about Reality Smasher? And Colin's going to smash for 15 here on turn 3.
How about game 3?
What a deck. What a deck. This is fair magic. Andrew's looking to chump block one of the Mimics.
Possibly chump block 2 of the Mimics.
Maybe 2 of them.
Maybe just go to 1. Whatever, who cares? Doesn't matter.
It's
Thinking about how he's going to sideboard for the 3rd game.
Colin probably has another Reality Smasher in hand. It's great. It's not technically a turn 3 kill, but
feels pretty close.
I kind of feel, yeah. Tenjum jumps away. The Sky Spawner goes down to 6, leaves himself the Scion.
Presumably planning on using that mana for something.
Yeah, for land in Day of Judgment. That's He boarded into that.
So
Out of his trade binder, he boarded in some Day of Judgment. It's going to be really good here.
he does have Worship in his sideboard, but he would have to sacrifice his only creature to cast it.
Yeah, well, also, that's an Eye of Ugin as the bottom land, so that actually doesn't work.
All right, there's no Urborg this game.
No. Even had the Day of Judgment in his hand, can't cast it. He casts Thought-Knot Seer. We see 2 lands in Hartman's hand. Tenjum will pass. So in theory here, Tenjum's going to play Eldrazi Displacer and Thought-Knot Seer. So I suppose one of the ways you can counter this draw from Hartman is if you play 7 mana worth of cards with 2 lands, then maybe you can recover.
That sounds like a good strategy. I think that was a really heads-up play by Tenjum.
I mean, this might buy him the turn he needs to get to Worship.
Absolutely.
He could even just win the game from here.
Yeah, he has more bodies in play.
Here's Blinkmoth Nexus activated. Swing of Reality Smasher and Blinkmoth from Hartman.
Yeah, forces some kind of block from Tenjum. This is 6 power. Tenjum's life total, of course, that's 6.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to double block the Reality Smasher. Remember that Eldrazi Displacer has been Pithing Needled.
Right, it's just a 3/3.
So Colin's going to kill the Thought-Knot Seer.
Also gets to draw a card when that one dies, so.
Yeah. If there was not a Needle in play, this would actually be an interesting decision for Hartman, as Eldrazi Displacer is quite good in the matchup.
Right, absolutely.
So the trade happens. Colin will net a card, and Tenjum will go to 5 from the Nexus. And another Eldrazi Mimic. Another land.
Ooh, it's a Ghost Quarter. There's some interesting tension with that one.
Going to go ahead and Ghost Quarter the Eye of Ugin. Now, I like that he did that during Tenjum's turn. Typically, you do that during their draw step. Just in case they draw their 1 basic, it might turn it into a Strip Mine.
Yeah, the upkeep is a little bizarre, especially because Ghost Quarter gets the land untapped. Usually you see somebody like Path to Exile and upkeep.
So I think Colin's on the right idea. He knows he wants to do it during Tenjum's turn, but that one you need to do during draw step, not upkeep.
Right, you really just want Tenjum to draw that plains.
Whereas Path you need to do during upkeep, not draw step, in case maybe they draw a counterspell or something.
Right.
Details. Tenjum will get his basic plains.
Does he have the Worship?
That would save him.
Does he need the Worship? Colin could brick for a couple turns here. We haven't seen evidence of additional spells just yet.
With Tenjum at 5, 1 Reality Smasher from Colin Hartman would almost certainly be game.
Yeah, attacking for 20 would be it's 4 5 power creatures against Tenjum's 5 life total.
Strong.
Yeah, with the Eye of Ugin no longer in play, it doesn't look like Tenjum will be able to produce 2 creatures this turn.
No, I mean, that Eye of Ugin made 4 mana last turn. Without that, I doubt Tenjum has the ability to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Tenjum swings with a Scion, gets some damage in, makes a statement, puts Colin down to 19.
Yeah, the real signal being that he's going to sacrifice it for mana.
Here's Urborg and the Scion sacrificed for Drowner of Hope. So this is good. This means if Colin top decks a Smasher, Andrew can scramble to try to tap some things.
Right. He has Displacer Drowner. Of course, the Needle is on Displacer. Tenjum does have Disenchants in his sideboard, though I don't think that they came in here.
Colin draws another Blinkmoth Nexus. This could add up. Tenjum is at 5. Blinkmoth Nexus. Oh, there's an Urborg in place. That Eye of Ugin taps for mana now. Heads up read by Colin. One Urborg in Tenjum's list, 3 Urborgs in Colin's.
Yeah, it matters a bit more for Colin's list, especially with the Simian Spirit Guides. Just the ability to generate more mana, especially without any colored spells.
So it'll be Matter Reshaper for 1 mana from Hartman.
Get that utility with Dismember as well, save some life.
And it will be an activate of the Nexus. So now his Mimics are 3/2s, which means that they would trade with the Displacer. They still get eaten by the Drowner. He goes to attacks, and Tenjum will not tap anything. He'll let Colin swing the entire team.
Yeah, the only profitable tap is really tapping the Blinkmoth Nexus because it's a flyer. If you want to take care of the Mimics, you can just block them. And you can also use the Mimic blocking the 3/2 to sacrifice to tap the Matter Reshaper on Colin's side.
So this is a great attack from Colin. Tenjum has to decide whether or not he wants to trade a Scion, trade both Scions with one of these Mimics, chump one of them. He can't let that through. He'll go to 1 if he does.
Yeah, against the 2 Blink Moth Nexus, that's a real problem.
So, looks like the whole board is going to be traded away for Tenjum. All 3 Mimics will go down. Tenjum will be left with just a Drowner of Hope and 4 life points.
Yep, no Scions to sacrifice.
That's fine by Hartman. Big trade here will clean up the board. Tenjum at 4, Colin at 19. Matter Reshaper versus Drowner, but those two Nexus are going to peck away in 2 turns. Because of Urborg, Colin has the mana to activate them both.
Yep. A lot of pressure on Tenjum to draw something here. Something like Ayabugan's second Drowner would be fantastic. Though you do have to commit those Scions just to tapping Nexuses. You're dead very quickly.
Tenjum doing some math here.
Sending the Drowner in. So that suggests he has something to block this Matter Reshaper.
Yeah, he has a blocker. I think at the same time, Tenjum knows he can't hold off these Nexus forever, so he's going to have to get Colin low enough so that if he top decks the right card, he can still win.
Right.
Looks like he has another Drowner of Hope. That might be enough for Tenjum.
Yep. And then Ayabugan, so he at least gets to leave a few lands untapped here.
Yeah. 4 mana is good enough. Leaves open mana for Path to Exile as well. And does he have a Displacer to go with it? He might. It is Eldrazi Displacer. Just a 3/3. Pithing Needle still on the board. But the second Drowner, another card that seems to be one of these trumps against the colorless Eldrazi deck.
Mm. They don't have anything that can swing the tempo quite that much in their list.
Activates 2 Inkmoth Nexuses for Colin. Will Tenjum take? Will he try to tap Colin out? He has 13 power on the board, or 15 power on the board as it stands. So it's enough to be lethal with only sacrificing 1 Scion. If you're Tenjum, I think you let all this through.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount of risk of going down to 2. I guess the fear would be that Colin double gut shots you. I don't know that Colin has 2 cards that Tenjum doesn't know about in his hand from the Thought-Knot Seer.
Last game, we did see gut shot post board from Colin.
Right. Yeah, so it is a little bit awkward that if you tap 1 Blink Moth, you can't tap the Reshaper and still have lethal damage.
So 1 Blink Moth swings in to put Tenjum down to 3. No pumps from Hartman. He'll leave back another blocker. What is his last card? Looks like he'll just pass.
Yeah, so he activated there before combat to see if Tenjum would tap his creatures. Use that information that Tenjum didn't to decide not to attack with both.
And here's Reality Smasher from Tenjum. That Colin left back enough blockers to only go to 1 on this attack, but that's not going to work with Reality Smasher. Now this is academic for Tenjum. He'll sacrifice a Scion to tap the Matter Reshaper. Colin can activate the Nexus as a blocker, but Tenjum will tap it, and this is a lethal attack. It is for 18.
Right, that 5 additional power from the Smasher puts him 4 points ahead of lethal. So Colin's just making sure he's not missing anything here. Can activate the Blink Moth. That Scion is just going to be sacrificed to the Drowner to tap it down. It looks like the initial tap trigger is still on the stack. I don't know what Colin could really be thinking about in response to that. Could just be sinking in that a tournament that started so well is slipping away from him.
Yeah, 3rd loss here. because he's coming from 11-1 in the standings, Colin still may have a shot at top 8.
Yeah, should definitely have some very strong tiebreakers.
But for Andrew Tenjum, it's going to be his second Open Series top 8 in as many events. Top 8 at Columbus 3 weeks ago, and a win here moves him to 12-2 and likely into the top 8 of SCG Louisville.